So today I'll be talking about assessments and students, as in how can students benefit from assessments and what you can do as a teacher to make sure that the assessments that you give to your students are effective and meaningful. So an assessment is gauging your students' understanding and comprehension of the learning objectives and essential questions that you have proposed to them either at the beginning of the unit or the beginning of the week. And it is a guideline for what you need to do next in your classroom and what you need to teach next. So assessments can come in a variety of ways and do not always have to be formal, written out in paper, or typed up. They can be something as simple as asking questions during the class or in small groups, or reading the body language of your students. And they fall under two categories, the first being formative assessments. This is something that is done during the learning process for immediate adjustments and improvement on the learning, and is the teacher's greatest weapon in understanding where the students stand in the learning and how you can help them be more successful in understanding learning. A summative assessment is their final showing of achievement and what they took away from the overall unit. It is what they gathered from all of the processes that you've done, and it reflects on how well the students did as well as how well you did. And something to remember, assessments are not set in stone. If you have a formative assessment, you can use it as a summative assessment. If you have a summative assessment, you can use it as a formative assessment. They can be used interchangeably and do not fall under one set category. So how can I make my assessments successful? Align them with what you learned, make them accurate, make them specific, and give students feedback in a timely manner so action can still be taken if necessary, if more understanding of the learning needs to be shown. What you gather with the information, that is what matters. The action you take, that is the important part. To make sure that you have effective action taken, follow the end to beginning approach. Start with what they want to learn overall and work your way back. So you want to assess your students, and what is a great way to make sure that students can be successful with the assessment that you give? How can they show their understanding overall and do so in an effective way? Provide them with feedback. Students can only make progress if they know where they stand, and that's where the feedback comes in. Make sure you are giving them that feedback during the learning process and you're making it meaningful and effective towards their understanding. Is there other ways to show feedback and give feedback? Yes. Use peer feedback, do self-checks and goal setting, as well as scaffold the information, break it down to more manageable parts, and then let them practice along the way. That is providing them with feedback. So you've done your assessments and you've given your feedback. Now what do you need to do? Now it is time to reflect on all that you have learned during this learning process. What did you gain and what do you still need to work on as of right now? This is the most valuable part of the process. It is giving the students the opportunity to see the progress they have made from where they started to where they are now. And they can evaluate the goals that they set earlier on and can see how they have met them or how they can still work on them. So students are tracking their learning to see their progress and to see their growth. They're reflecting on the goals they've set for themselves, and as they're doing this, make sure it is individual student-based. Do not make this a competition. It is not about other students in the classroom, it's about them. So how can we track their work so they can reflect on it? Have them record the information, just writing the learning objectives down and how they're meeting them. Keeping journals, and my personal favorite, portfolios. Having evidence of their work is the best. When they're reflecting on growth, allow the students to see where they were and where they are now. See the progression that they've done. And that can be done in a variety of ways. It can be very simple or they can be very specific. So you've reflected, so now what do? Share that reflection, share that information, either be in a teacher conference, parent conference, or a peer conference. Show them what you know. It builds your confidence and it shows your understanding, which is the whole key to it. So what did we learn overall? Assessments are not set in stone. Assessments can be done during the learning process and you need to take action with them. And you also need to provide meaningful feedback so they can learn and adjust. Also, feedback can come in many forms, and you need to give your students and yourself a chance to reflect. Have them reflect in some place where they can refer back to it. And once they have done that reflecting, have them share it with a trusting audience. So some future thoughts: that these topics are complex, and as first year fresh out of college teachers, it's going to take time for us to fully understand them. Do trial and error and don't be afraid to fail, because we will, and that's okay.